and welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones, and we're so glad to have you here. Today, we are talking about women in state government as well as the next generation of young leaders interested in public service. Anthony Fasano of Sussex County is the youngest person in the state elected to direct a county board, and he got his start in high school as his class president. He's standing by. Also on the show, Republican consultant Jeanette Hoffman. This Jersey girl, she juggles it all. She's a mom, an advocate, an outspoken voice for conservatives in New Jersey. First, though, we are excited to welcome Senator Loretta Weinberg to the show, a legend in New Jersey state government. Her list of accomplishments, quite frankly, they could take up the entire show. Chances are her work in New Jersey has touched your life somehow, from battling big tobacco to advocating for women, as well as a champion for the LGBTQ community. She has made a difference. Now she's retired, but not one to disappear from the political scene in New Jersey. Senator, we're so glad to see you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, you know, you're retired, but your version of retirement isn't necessarily what one might think. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Well, it's been rather busy closing my legislative offices, both in Trenton and in Teaneck. And I sold the condo in which I lived and moved into a rental apartment. So downsizing, getting rid of stuff that accumulates was a bit chaotic and still is as I get to the tail end of all of that. But I do serve on a couple of boards. I have been invited to participate in several panels on mostly around women's issues and a number of other things. So when people ask me how I enjoy retirement, I tell them as soon as I get a chance to experience it, I will let you know.
That's fantastic. Well, I watch you on your Twitter feed, and you're talking a lot about women in government, and that's something obviously really important to you. Now, you were the first lieutenant governor, or first to be nominated as a Democrat under John Corzine to run for lieutenant governor. Kim Godano, Chris Christie won. But after seeing Kim Godano for 2 years, then she ran for governor. Now we're in a position where we have Sheila Oliver going into a second term as lieutenant governor. And we haven't seen a female governor since Christy Whitman. So what do you think? Would Sheila Oliver perhaps be the next person, the next female maybe, to take a run and possibly successfully win?
I don't know what the lieutenant governor's plans are. We have not discussed it, but I will tell you that there is no person who has the breadth of experience that the lieutenant governor has. She served in local office. She served in the New Jersey Assembly. She served as Speaker of the Assembly, a pretty tough job, bringing together the disparate people who represent the various areas of New Jersey, and then as lieutenant governor. So I have enormous respect for her. She understands the responsibilities of the lieutenant governor office, and yet knows that on certain issues, she can stand up and her voice is heard. So whatever the lieutenant governor decides to do, I will be there to support her.
Well, what do you think about women just in general and their representation in state government? We're doing better than we were 20 years ago, but still we could be doing better. What are your thoughts about going out there and encouraging other women to get in to running for office? You know, you have a lot of people, especially during the pandemic, who are paying closer attention. And instead of just complaining about something, well, they could have an opportunity to be a part of the solution. Do you talk to women on that? And, you know, what are your thoughts?
Well, I do talk to many women individually who might seek me out to get input, and certainly to groups where I have been invited. Public service is one of the most interesting, fast-moving, adventuresome, where you can really change the world roadways. So I encourage young people to be involved if in fact they have ideas that they want to translate into government action. It is sometimes a tough environment for women. It's sometimes difficult for women to find the right time. They might have small children, they might have adolescent children, they might have responsibilities at home, they might be the single head of a household. So because we women are traditionally the caregivers in our families, although those roles are kind of changing a little bit in the next generations, it's not an easy environment. It's not easy for a woman to choose the right time to become involved. And it's not always welcoming to women. It's still pretty much of a man's world out there. We are changing it. We're changing it legislatively to set up an appropriate environment so that women are not hassled in any way. So I think we're making strides, but not nearly enough. I use my own personal experience, which is what has shaped my legislative career, was the daughter of the frail elderly mother whom I helped care for, the raising children with my husband, then being for a long time, the wife of a cancer survivor, and then being the widow of someone who went through a serious illness like cancer, which eventually took his life, dealing with the health insurance companies, dealing with the bureaucracy. All of those things shaped what I was interested in the legislature. And I think women bring that kind of extra ESP, for want of another term, to the jobs that they do. And I think there should be more of us.
Yeah, that's a really excellent point, because even in my life as a mother and having to navigate the special needs environment, I think being a political reporter has helped me understand state government, but then also that experience in being a mom and navigating through that, and there's so many people who are, trying to work their way through different, like you said, whether you're fighting cancer, whether you're having to deal with family issues, and then when you bring that to the table, would make for an unstoppable lawmaker and public servant, as you said. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is something you recently tweeted about, and it's shifting gears just a little bit, but it's going a little bit to higher education and college in New Jersey. And there was something about Rutgers being in a $73 million deficit. And one of the things that you are talking about right now is, hey, is it time now to kind of look at what are we paying football coaches, as opposed to how are we investing our money in our students, in our young people, because we want students to go to college in New Jersey, stay in New Jersey, and then give back to New Jersey, whether it be in the workforce, in their homes, or in the state legislature. So you had some thoughts on that.
Yes, and again, the juxtaposition of the millions of dollars being paid to the football coaches. And I've been involved peripherally in the fact that there are pay equity issues at Rutgers for female professors who allege that they are not being paid in the same way that their male counterparts are. And as the sponsor of the strongest pay equity law in the nation, that kind of interested me. And when I see the fight against pay equity for professors, the people who are supposed to intellectually challenge our young people, help them grow, help them become professionals in whatever areas they choose, played against the football coaches, which aren't even producing. They're not producing big wins. I don't know what the standards are. So that's what leads me to question, shouldn't we take a look at this? Shouldn't there be some boundaries? Hey, I happen to be a football fan, believe it or not, big Giant fan, unfortunately. Pretty sad over the last number of years. We always have hope. So, and I get the importance of sports, particularly for our universities. It adds to the pizzazz of a school. It brings students together at football games, all of that sort of thing. But there really needs to be some boundaries. And don't tell me that you can't pay really good salaries to really good professors in an equal basis versus your football coaches. So that's what kind of caught my interest. And I've gone to Rutgers Board of Trustee meetings and expressed that and got some cool nods. And thank you for being here, and don't come next month. Looks from them.
They might have said that to the wrong person, because you
Well.
are someone, when you believe in something, whether you agree or disagree, you stay true to what values you hold true. And we're so glad that you took the time to talk to us today. We hope that you come back, because like I said, your list of accomplishments, I could probably do an entire show just based upon that and your time in Trenton. But we thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with us today.
Thank you, Laura. Congratulations on having a new political voice in New Jersey. We surely need it. So I wish you lots of good luck and many listeners and watchers.
Anthony Fasano is here now. He is the Sussex County Commissioner Director, and we are so glad to have him here. Anthony, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
People are not always paying attention to the county government. They might know who their mayor is, they certainly know who the governor is, but they don't always realize what the business of the county is. So can you tell us a little bit about what it is the county does and what
Absolutely.
it is you do?
Absolutely. And I think it's really important for people to be active and involved and paying attention to all different aspects of government that impacts their life, from their school board to their mayor, to their governor, and to their federal level. But their county government, especially here in New Jersey, is also really important to be paying attention to. And I think the best way to put it is it really falls where functions of your municipality and functions of your state, there has to be somewhere for functions to kind of funnel, and that's the county level. And there probably is no better example of that than the pandemic. And you see that in all counties in New Jersey, here in Sussex County as well. But when it comes to testing operations, when it comes to vaccine operations, when it comes to coordinating initiatives with our state and local partners, it takes your county to do that. And here at the county level, I think there's so much that kind of is thrown into the county that people don't think about all the time. So yes, it is from a pandemic standpoint, your health and human services and your mental services and your senior services, but also other things that people don't necessarily think about, like mosquitoes and mosquito control, like food pantries, when it comes to supporting our charitable services, supporting our public education, our county technical school, all that's kind of thrown in to county government. And certainly here in Sussex County, we know people's expectations here is to have a county government that works efficiently and works really well for them. So that's our focus, and that's really my focus every day.
And while you're still in the thick of running the testing facilities and the vaccine facilities, are you looking to what a post-COVID government would look like and helping individuals, businesses? Are you already thinking about that?
Absolutely. And that's because I think our residents are already thinking about that. I think when you talk to a lot of residents, especially here in Sussex County, there is a desire to move on from this pandemic world and to focus on the next chapters of everybody's lives. And here in Sussex County, we know that too. That's from a small business assistance standpoint, where we want to make sure that our local economy is in a position where it can kind of jumpstart from a COVID standpoint. We also want to make sure from a renters and mortgage standpoint that our residents have resources here available to them at the county level, but also tackling historical challenges like broadband connectivity and internet connectivity, which of course has been really important throughout the pandemic. And we've had to find what I'm going to call Band-Aid and short-term solutions to address those problems. But what it has uncovered is we need to solve that challenge long-term, especially after what the pandemic has brought to Sussex County. And that's a need for connectivity up and down Sussex County. But also there's a ton of new families and residents here, people who are working from home. So we need to provide that here in Sussex County. Sussex County is not usually thought of as the place where you're going to find high-speed internet. And I think in a matter of a year or two, it very well could be.
You have a lot on your plate, and you're the youngest person in the state of New Jersey ever elected to actually direct a board. So tell me a little bit about how that came about. How long have you been working in state government? I mean, because you listed so many things, and to be the youngest person, I can see there can be a lot of pros to that. You've got the energy. You certainly are understanding a lot of those technology issues that perhaps maybe other generations might not be as tip of their tongue. So tell me a little bit about you and this distinction as the youngest person in the state ever elected.
Well, it certainly wasn't intentional, and I wasn't aware of that until about 3 weeks after I became director. Is I got a call and somebody told me that I saw in a press report that you may be the youngest person to ever be a county director, and that's super cool. But I think in this role, and I think throughout my whole life, this is my 9th year holding public office, and what I've learned is maybe it is because of my age, but you do not know everything you need to know as a public official. So you have to go out and talk to other people. You have to go out to talk to other stakeholders. You have to actively solicit opinions and feedback and solutions. And when it comes to things like a pandemic and being here at the county level of government during a pandemic, yes, I have never experienced a once-in-a-generation pandemic before, but neither has anybody that I worked with, regardless of their age. So we're tackling this challenge all together, all for the first time together. So all solutions are on the table. And I think my role here as director, and when I think a role throughout my public government life that I've been comfortable kind of fulfilling, is facilitator. There's a lot of great ideas, great experts, great people in the field, and there has to be somewhere that you can kind of connect that, make it linear, and make it solve a challenge that everybody agrees is a mutual challenge here to solve. So a lot of our issues here at the county, there is a desire to solve it. It just takes a degree of collaboration through all levels to be able to do that. But I got my start in public government at 19 years old. I grew up here in New Jersey my whole life. I went to Hopatcong Borough Schools, K to 12. My parents moved here just in time for my first day of kindergarten because it was affordable and safe, and it was a commutable distance from my father's job. I went on through public education. I went on to be class president, then went on to the school board, where I learned a ton, and that really helped me, I think, throughout those 6 years on the school board, understanding how to alleviate challenges at a local level. Certainly helped prepare me for some of the challenges that we're facing here at the county level.
Yeah, well, I love hearing about how you were class president and how you didn't stop there. You went ahead and you got involved. So perhaps if there are any young people out there listening, they do have power from moving on from any of their student government leadership positions, and they can be on the front lines actually helping make policy that is relevant. So Anthony, we thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Jeanette Hoffman is a longtime Republican consultant here in New Jersey, and this Jersey girl is also a super mom to 4 absolutely adorable kids. And when the rest of us are sleeping in, she's out there running distance marathons. Jeanette Hoffman, we are so glad to see you. Welcome.
Thanks, Laura. I'm so excited to be here with you. Congratulations on the show. I love it. I love everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, let's talk a little bit about women elected to office in New Jersey. Now, we've only seen one female governor in New Jersey, Christy Whitman, but we are seeing some more women in the legislature, and we've got a lot of powerful voices out there. So what can you say about the state of women running and holding office in New Jersey?
Well, I think you're going to see more and more women running for office in New Jersey. And actually, this past election year was historic for Republican women in the legislature. We actually elected 7 new Republican women to the legislature, and that is the most in New Jersey history. So I'm really excited about that. And I think a lot of it was because people were fed up. Women were fed up of what they were seeing during the pandemic. They were seeing their kids locked down. They weren't getting a great education. They were sick of affordability in New Jersey. They were paying such high property taxes, and they wanted to do something about it. They were tired of the mandates, and they said, if not me, then who else is going to do it? And they were putting their names on the ballot from local races, school board races, all the way up to the legislature.
When you see women, and especially when you have moms who have young children in the schools, and that the pandemic really peeled back a lot. So we saw what was going on, for better or worse, in our schools. And now you're seeing a lot of them getting in the faces of their local school boards, and they're really becoming big advocates. So do you think we're going to be seeing some new people in the next election cycle who have, like you are mentioning, they're seeing what's happening, they're saying, no, not with my kids. My kids deserve better, and if such and such isn't going to do it, I'm going to get involved myself.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we are seeing. And a perfect example of that is Claire Swift in the 2nd District in Atlantic County. She's a new assemblywoman, and she was a lawyer, and she didn't think about running for office, but she was like, having so many people were calling her office, and she was helping people just out of her law office. And she said, why shouldn't I just run for office myself? And, when people were asking her on the campaign trail, well, why are you running? She would name her 3 kids. That was the reason why she was running for office. And so I think you'll see a lot of new faces, people who weren't typically involved in politics, running for school board, like you said, because they want to change what's going on in their kids' schools, or they're going to run for local office because they don't like what's going on in their towns, and the typical career politicians have failed them. Another example is Marilyn Paperno in the 11th District in Monmouth County. She was a fitness instructor. She didn't have any elected office experience, and she ran and she won in the state assembly and defeated a politician incumbent. So just because you haven't run for office or been involved in politics before, that doesn't mean you can't be involved and you can't run and win. Because sometimes when women run for office, people like them. People like their approach. They like the things that they're talking about, and they elect them.
Well, is it harder for women who are trying to get a start in politics? Because it can be overwhelming for any new candidate running, because you've got to have money, you've got to have name recognition, you've got so much you have to consider. So how difficult is it, and what kind of resources are available if somebody's sitting there saying, you know what, I want to be a part, I don't want to sit and just complain, I want to be a part of a solution, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, but I don't know where to start?
Yeah, well, you said the first thing that you said that is really a very big hurdle to running is money, right? Because campaigns take money. It takes a lot of money to get your name out with mail pieces, with, having a campaign website, having an organization. So money is the biggest obstacle for a lot of candidates getting involved, men or women. But, a lot of times the county operations, the machines, they back men, right? Or people who've been involved in the political operations for a long time. There is a great resource in New Jersey called the Center for American Women in Politics. They run a great operation called Ready to Run. It's actually in March. They have a conference that goes on that any woman can get involved, and it encourages women to get involved in politics. And they have great sessions about how to raise money, how to get your message out, how to have a organization campaign, and it's free to anybody who's interested in running. So I would first encourage anyone to check that out, Ready to Run, for the Center of American Women in Politics. But then I would also encourage anyone who's really interested to contact their county organization. Every county has a Republican organization and a Democrat organization, and I think more and more these county bosses, these county chair people are interested in having strong women candidates, because like I said, when women get involved, these candidates tend to win. So it's it's challenging because you got to raise money to get your message out, and you got to knock on doors. You got to meet people. And a lot of women, we're busy. We have kids, we have careers, we have a lot of things going on, but it can be done. And I would encourage people to meet with your county people, your county chairperson, man, woman, and get involved.
Yeah, well, and I know there's always another election in New Jersey, but we haven't had a female governor since Christy Whitman. What do you think the chances are? Now, what do you think the chances are that we might see a female running for governor in 4 years, 3 years, I guess, is by the time it would get up and running, or even maybe somebody challenging one of those U.S. Senate seats, because we've not had a female U.S. senator in New Jersey, right?
I know. I think that's crazy.
Yeah, right? I always have to check myself. I'm like, wait, no. Congressional members, yes, but do you think we're going to see any women throwing their hat in?
I think we will. I mean, listen, we've had lieutenant governors who are women. We had Kim Guadagno. Now we have Sheila Oliver. I think you'll see a Republican candidate for governor in a couple of years. I think we'll see some U.S. Senate candidates. Whether they win, I'm not sure. I'll note that the only woman governor has been a Republican. I don't know what the Democrats are doing. No, I'm just kidding. But it should be interesting. I know some personally, a lot of people would like to see some Republican women out there for U.S. Senate in a couple of years. We'll have to see. I know we'll see some candidates. Whether they get elected remains to be seen.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jeanette, we thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And there are so many things that we could be talking about in New Jersey, but I love hearing a little bit about the opportunities out there for women, and then the organizations that are available as resources. That's absolutely key.
Yeah, this is always an exciting topic for me, Laura. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Good seeing you.
You too. Take care.
Thank you so much for watching this edition of New Jersey Politics. I am Laura Jones. We'll see you next time.